From fancy houses to luxury cars, all of us have a list of things we want to own. And there's much anticipation for the day that all of us will finally happen. Fast forward to a few years, you have enough resources to, let's say, purchase your dream car. You go to the showroom very excitedly, except you receive terrible customer service, which ruins your entire customer experience and sends down all the hype and expectations down the drain. A very good morning to the esteemed panel of judges. I'm Pranjal Jain, and along with my teammates Chirag Sethi, Pulkit Sehgal, and Sarthak Bindal, we represent Shaheed Sukhdev College of Business Studies from India. And we are extremely honored to present before you our vision of how Porsche can improve its customer relationships, enhancing the customer experience, and continue to have the most number of satisfied customers. So, to give you a brief overview of how we have planned our 20 minutes of the presentation, we will start by understanding the company and the given context. Moving forward, we'll see some of the core issues that we have to tackle. We'll then walk you through our comprehensive submission strategy, Porsche for You, justifying our choice of alternatives as we will delve deeper into the details of our plan. Post that, we'll shift gears to implementation and look at the proposed timeline and the risks that we foresee. We'll end by reviewing the impact created in terms of reduced marketing expense and increased customer satisfaction. So, first of all, looking at the company profile, we see that the Porsche works with the prime objective of customer centricity and also offers its customers an option to build their own car. Porsche has been ranked the highest overall in the appeal study since the last 2 decades and continues to have the most satisfied customers. It has also been focusing on electrification and digitization to achieve the company's objective of Strategy 2025, for which Taycan was the flagship car of Porsche's Mission E initiative. The company also has an online Taycan community of over 3,000 global members. So, to set some context, let's first have a look at the customer journey. Paul is a car enthusiast and wants to buy his dream car, Taycan. He goes to the Porsche Hong Kong dealership, where the sales executive, David, offers him a test drive of the available model with the dealership. After a few days, after having the test drive, Paul places his order. And after a few days, Paul wants to make some changes in his order specifications, which he communicates to David and thereafter fulfills the necessary formalities. Finally, David calls Paul to get a first look of his dream car and fill out the outstanding paperwork before delivery. Paul goes through the sales contract and notices that some initially specified features are missing. Unsatisfied with the service, he raises his grievances with David, and after grievance redressal, his dream car is finally delivered. But now that we have looked at the basic customer journey, let's see the case specific problem areas in this customer journey. First of all, there was a communication mismatch at the changes in order specification stage, where the changes asked by Paul were confirmed to him by David on behalf of the dealership. However, the dealership did pass on the specifications to the production team. Next, when the car arrived for its first look, it was in an incomplete form with missing parts which were promised to be retrofitted, except there was no specific date given for the same. Lastly, Paul received a very unsatisfactory response from David during the entire grievance redressal process, which further deteriorated the entire car buying experience for Paul. Now, let's just understand that this is one example and one story of Paul. Imagine this happening with multiple customers. It will severely harm the business for Porsche. And that is exactly where our strategy comes into play to ensure and improve the entire customer experience. Next slide. Now, before delving deep into our strategy, let us first have a look at the problems faced by Porsche in general. We have identified 4 problem stages. First, being before placing the order, where there's a lack of specific car models with dealerships for test drives. Secondly, after placing an order, all communication from the dealership to the customer is very slow and inefficient. Next, while having a first look at the car, the orders are sometimes delivered in incomplete form due to shortage of parts, and subsequently, the dealership follow an unorganized process of customer redressal. Lastly, during the final delivery, the feedback mechanism is largely ineffective, adding to which the customer relations department is unaware about specific customer cases. Now that we have identified the major basic problems, we have also identified 3 primary areas of focus. Previous slide, please. Which we believe that impact the entire customer experience the most and are of prime importance to improve the problems currently being faced by Porsche and their customers. We haven't focused on availability of specific car models with dealerships because we understand that having all models isn't feasible from an operational as well as a financial standpoint view of any dealership. And hence having limited models is something that we can go ahead with. We have also not focused a lot on the shortage of parts because given that the case is set in COVID times, all supply chains were disrupted globally during the pandemic, and it was very difficult for any company to give accurate forecasts about availability of parts. However, the information needs to be communicated to the dealership and to the customer, which our solution does ensure.
Right. So now we brainstormed on what possible options does the company have to rectify the scenario, right? So firstly, we thought if the current problem is not as huge as it appears and might just be one such instance, right? However, on analyzing the case, it was clear that there were massive problems with the entire system, which needed to be rectified in order for Porsche to maintain its customer-centric brand positioning. Second, our strategy, what we thought about is the Porsche for you strategy. This involves digitizing most of the process for smooth information flow between the different stakeholders involved in real time to eliminate the inefficient flow of information, which was the problem here. Lastly, we analyzed another strategy called the sent person commitment, where we plan on giving more authority to the central customer services team in order for them to standardize the entire process and ensure that such instances do not take place frequently. However, after deliberating on all of these plans, we have decided to propose the Porsche for you strategy to our client. Let us take a better look at this strategy to discuss it in depth. Introducing the Porsche for you strategy. It is based on the idea that how important it is to have effective and efficient communication for the success of an organization, both internally and as well as externally with their customers. As we have discussed, the current process needs to be changed, and hence, through our strategy, we believe that there can be a drastic impact on the customer service quality that Porsche currently offers. Just through a single digital portal, all the three stakeholders, that is, the customer, dealership, and the production team, can pass on information to each other digitally in real time while making the entire journey smooth and transparent for the user, that is, the customer. All the information a customer needs is now available at a single spot, which eliminates the problem of him running after the sales executive, which was in this case with Paul running after David for each and everything. Now, let us go through what the customer journey here will look like after this strategy is introduced. Right. So, Paul, the customer, had access to slow information exchange about a lot of things which he needed to communicate to the dealership. Right. And as a result, it was very tiring for him to go through such a process just to purchase his dream car, something he had been wondering about for a long time. Now, with this strategy being implemented, he will just log on to his portal, which will be created once he places an order. Now he can smoothly navigate through the different options available as shown on the left hand side of the portal, from tracking the status of the order to any changes in the order specifications and so on. Everything can be done through a single digital portal. This is an example of how the order tracking will look like for the customer. All of this data will be easily available to the customer, ensuring a hassle-free process for Paul in this case.
Right. So through the Porsche for You portal, we have designed a very digitized and simplified user interface and experience, which is aimed at making the entire customer journey very smooth. However, like we know, for every beautiful house, you need to have a very strong base of bricks in place. Similarly, for ensuring a smooth and transparent customer experience, you need to have very strong systems in place. And this is where our proposed Porsche comes into the picture. It has three main tenets, right? First, revamping our customer service evaluation process. So as per the existing process, the customer service evaluation basically refers to the point where the sales representative gives a feedback form to the customer in order to get a feedback about the customer's experience with the company or the dealership. Here, we recommend making a few changes to how the customer service evaluation is facilitated. First, we think Porsche should shift this feedback form to our new Porsche for You portal that we have discussed in the previous slides, as this will help us to reduce the influence of sales rep on the feedback given by the customer, which currently exists due to the close physical proximity of the two during offline customer service evaluation. Secondly, the data that is collected at the stage should be shared with two particular parties, especially first, the senior management of the branch, and secondly, the customer relation teams. So basically, what this will do is this will ensure transparency of data. Coming to the second point, implementing a major problem that exists. Next slide, please. A major problem that exists in this is the lack of involvement of senior branch management. If we go back to the case, even after months of inconvenience that Paul faced, the branch manager failed to properly involve himself in the matter. The point of this is that branch managers are not assuming much responsibility or accountability, even when the customers aren't happy with the customer redressal process. Therefore, we suggest implementing the dealership ranking system. Now, what is that? Right? The dealership ranking system basically involves two major steps. First, we will be constructing an internal ranking system for dealerships, which will be based on a feedback form. Basically, we'll be making use of the data from the customer service evaluation step, as we discussed in the previous slide, and we will rank the branches of Porsche on the basis of this. And with the branch having the most good reviews and the minimum complaints would be the one ranking the highest. Secondly, and a very important factor is that we'll be linking the dealership manager's bonuses to the customer success ranking, which was discussed in the previous point. Basically, our ideology is that humans respond to incentives, whether be that negative or positive. Therefore, in this scenario, if managers' bonuses depend on how well they perform on this particular ranking, they will have a higher motivation to take accountability and improve their branch with regards to customer relations. Thirdly, next slide, please. We also need to improve the customer redressal system. So in case the customer is not satisfied with the redressal of their problems, there needs to be a proper mechanism for the same, right? So in the current scenario, if the customer is unhappy with the redressal provided by the sales representative, there is really no other place for them to go to. Therefore, we propose to digitize the redressal form where customers can write their complaints. All of these complaints will then directly reach the branch manager, who then carefully goes through all of them. Now, the managers would be incentivized to go through these mails, since, as we discussed in the last slide, the bonus is linked to the branch's rating, customer success rating. This would lead to quicker resolution of customer issues.
Right. So when we talk about the problem solved, to summarize, our two key stakeholders, one, the customer, and two, the company, need to be at the forefront of the solutions, and our recommendations need to ease both the interested parties. The first problem of both these parties regarding the delays and the progress of the order has been taken care of. Now, Paul and thousands of other proud Porsche owners will not have to incessantly call the sales executive to be in loop regarding the status of their dream car. Our online portal has brought them a step closer to owning their car before it has even been delivered to them. Secondly, there will no longer be communication gaps between the production team and the dealerships. All the changes and modifications will be updated automatically on the digital interface, and the information flow will be smoother and transparent, making life easier for both the customer and, again, the company. How irritating was it earlier for a dissatisfied customer like Paul to not have his complaints heard and redressed in time? The Porsche brand should reflect pride, comfort, and luxury for the customer. Our strategy to focus on digital feedback mechanisms and incentivizing dealerships would keep dealerships on their toes so that they focus on customer satisfaction and resolve problems as soon as possible. When we talk about the implementation now, we believe that there are a few risks that need to be resolved and looked at. We believe that there are two risks that our Porsche for You strategy might entail. The first being the lack of incentive for the customer to fill the feedback form, giving the company an incomplete view of the customer satisfaction level and the challenges they might face. This will also make the process of ranking dealerships as per their performance tougher. However, we believe that we can meet this challenge with right incentivization for the customer. Such incentivization could include free service vouchers as a token of thanks for giving us feedback. Moreover, the feedback form would be concise, to the point, and easy to understand. The second risk we believe we could face would be to assess dealership performance based on qualitative responses of the customer. Questions like, how was the experience with the sales executives, would have qualitative answers from different customers. But this can be addressed by using a Likert scale, which would ask for responses on a scale of 1 to 5. However, at the same time, our feedback form would still have scope for qualitative questions, since every answer cannot and should not be quantified. Coming on to the timeline, which will be very important for the implementation of the strategy, we believe that Porsche can start implementing a strategy very readily. The development of online portal and its implementation should start immediately and be completed by the end of this year. The online customer redressal system should be developed, keeping key metrics in mind by June of 2023, along with ranking and incentivization system for the dealerships. Most importantly, we expect better results from strategies between mid-June of 2023 to December of 2024. Now, what these results would be, we'll discuss that now. The impact, which is the most important metric of all our presentation. Now, our strategies would create the needed impact and solve most of the bottlenecks of the company and the customer by making minimal changes to the operations and helping streamline processes and communication. We believe that high customer satisfaction will lead to higher sales for the company in the long term. Our dealership partners are our point of contact with the customers, whose operations, when smoothened out, would make the journey of purchasing their dream car as smooth as the ride in the workshop. Moreover, premium service to our customers would appease them, and we wouldn't have to go above and beyond our means to advertise Porsche's brand. Organic word of mouth marketing goes the farthest. When we talk about this pie chart, as shown in the slide, it comprises of the weights of metrics that are considered while creating the China Sales Satisfaction Index, an important metric to rank various companies, which is similar to other indices like the DAS in China. As you can see, our focus has been to cater 80% of the problems by just enhancing 20% of the processes. Process like communication before visit, delivery process, online experience, deal process, feedback, which is approximately 80% of the problem following the Pareto principle, has been solved by tweaking just 20% of our processes. And we believe that through this, we can improve not only our rankings, but the customer satisfaction, and all these results will be in front of Porsche. Porsche's tagline, Destination Porsche, needs to be accompanied by right strategies and right focus towards customer satisfaction. Only then, in its truest sense, thousands of Porsche cars will be a Porsche for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. It's now time for the Q&A session. Judges, please make the questions short and concise and leave your thoughts and comments for the feedback session. The 15-minute countdown starts now. Let's hear the first question.
After you, Alpa, as always.
Thank you, throwing me in the deep end. Thank you very much, team, for that presentation and for your well presented and well thought out solution and scenario setting. Maybe we can go a little bit more into the increasing sales and revenue and increased price and brand recall, and how you're coming. I think particularly increased price and increased sales and revenue. How are you coming to those conclusions?
Thank you for your question, Raj. We believe that customer satisfaction is one of the key points when it comes to Porsche or any other luxury brand. Customer satisfaction is something that should be at the core of any such brand. Now, when a premium car brand like Porsche offers a car to a customer, it not only offers a car, but a premium service, a premium experience of driving a car. And all that starts when delivering a car to the customer in the first place. And I believe that this can only happen when Porsche is committed to customer satisfaction. And when it does so, I believe that Porsche's high price and luxury price for its premium customer segment can only be justified. And even if it tends to increase the price in the future, it will be able to sustain it because the customers are satisfied. Secondly, I believe that a dissatisfied customer, like Paul in our case, might not want to suggest some other person to purchase a Porsche from a particular sales dealership. Now, this might affect the sales of Porsche in the short term, and in fact, very significantly in the long term. And when this is resolved, when customer satisfaction is put into the center of delivery, I believe that word of mouth marketing will be key, and this would increase revenues and sales in the future for Porsche with the higher price justified.
Just adding on to that, just like one thing, if I could. To the price feature, so Porsche also has build your own car feature, which is basically a strategy that it uses very wisely to price its products according to the customization that customers choose. So in case you want to add more features, Porsche has the leverage that they can charge you a higher price for that because you're basically adding more luxury to your dream car.
Thank you, Pranjal.
Picking up on the same point, team, and first of all, I do echo the comments made by Alpa. Very good presentation, very well thought through, and you guys looked at multiple aspects rather than just one. So that was fantastic, by the way. Again, just picking up on the financial analysis part, because the rest of it, you guys did a great job, I think. Are you banking on your strategy to lead to an increase in price or increase in sales volume by virtue of satisfied customers? Because price increase is a very long-term game, especially when you have a dissatisfied customer base.
Absolutely, Judge. Thank you for your question again. We believe we aren't, giving you exact numbers or exact forecast over here because it is very difficult to come up with a strategy which correlates qualitative changes and strategic changes to quantitative changes. We tried to analyze various studies which reflected a correlation between increased customer satisfaction by using customer satisfaction indices and increased revenue. Now, as per those studies, no conclusive results were found, but it is an inherent belief of our team that in the long term, increased customer satisfaction will lead to increased sales. Now, again, two things. We believe that Porsche is not a company that banks on, selling more and more cars. It wants to increase the number of sales. However, at the same time, price is an important metric it plays with. So in the long term, I believe, yes, the price would be an important factor. But in the short term, I don't believe that Porsche would be able to say 1.5 times its sales or 2 times its sales because of increased customer satisfaction. Because this is a very niche segment of what we are trying to change and trying to solve. It's more about enhancing the experience, and these are value-added services that contribute to a satisfied customer in the long term. So we aren't. So I don't think it will be fair on our point to make any false or any lofty promises as to increase. So yeah, that's a summary of what we plan to do.
Also, just to add on, so the major costs, if you look at the entire strategy here, the major cost involved will be of the development of this portal and hence maintaining it after that in the long run, right? So if we see the costs that are incurred with regards to the impact that it can generate, we believe that the impact really outnumbers the cost that will be incurred in this particular process. So it's a very cost-effective strategy in our opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's quite refreshing that you guys are honest about the fact that it's very hard to translate quantitative measures into qualitative measures into quant, right? That's why you have people like McKinsey and BCG who charge you an arm and a leg to come up with how to change your logo, right? And things like that. So I completely appreciate that point. However, I do think that the one part that you guys could have dug into a little bit more was at least giving it a stab with some sort of logic, whatever you had in terms of how some of these things would translate into better revenue. The cost side here is pretty clear, and I think one other aspect that if you guys could comment on is in any large organization, change takes time in any organization, large or big, right? So how do you think about how do you go about training and the mindset of your dealers, of the manufacturer, and how important do you think that aspect is to being able to achieve all this? Because that's one aspect I thought you guys could have touched on a little bit, just a training element of it. More of an observation, less of a question, guys.
Yeah, but I'll just add on to that by saying that yes, we understand that such a change, when you talk about such a big organization, it doesn't happen in one day, right? And that is why we talked about the timeline wherein we have given it, where we have allocated different timelines for different parts of the implementation of the strategy, be it the development of this portal, because again, that cannot be done in one day itself, right? And then we have given next 6 months or so for the entire, for planning out the entire implementation of all of these things. And post that only, we are expecting an improved impact. That is by the mid of next year. That is June 2023.
Yeah, just to add here one more point. So while we were considering all our alternatives, right? So the cent% alternative that we had, we basically we're trying to see which solution is better, whether our solution, the one we were thinking of, is better, or is the 10% solution is better. But what we figured out was that the 10% commitment solution had too much potential in the of increasing costs, in the sense that here, since the customer service department will have to do everything, it would obviously make the entire process very inefficient. But secondly, it will also require a lot of learning and development from the company side, because we'll have to train that customer service department to understand every production term, understand what the delays would be like, understand what, obviously they know what customers feel like, but they don't know the other side of it. They don't know the manufacturing side of it. They don't know what are the delays, why the delays are there, etc., etc. So this is why we figured out that Posh for You is the solution that would be relevant for us, because that would eventually lead to relatively less learning and development or training costs compared to the other alternatives.
Just one more thing to add, if I can. Another reason why we didn't look at this again from the training aspect of it and the employee base aspect is that it would sort of undermine the current process that the dealerships have to go through and undermine their authority. And that is another reason we felt that it's better to empower them while keeping the same structure, just making a few changes in the operations of the same.
No, thanks for that, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any further questions at this
Neither.
stage.
Yeah. Me neither, guys. So give us 5 minutes and we'll come back to you with some observations and comments. But thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah.
Thank
so much.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ajay.
Thank you, students. We will see you later.